Hello, my name is Antonio Rocha, and I am your host and the storyteller for the Treehouse Storytelling Show. Welcome. The purpose of this show is to instill in you a love for the world we live in. And I'd love for you to do that through the stories and a little bit of geography. You see, when I was 8, 9, and 10, my oldest sister, Sonia Rocha, 24 years older, she lived in Europe, right in Portugal, and worked as an ecologist. She traveled extensively throughout Europe and also did some research in the Kalahari Desert in Africa. Oh, back in those days, we didn't have the internet like we do today, so she would send me lots of postcards. And I would follow her trips, looking at the postcards and at the tools I had at the time. I'm talking about the atlas and the globe. And that's how my love for travel and geography started. Today's story comes from Japan. Japan is a country on the northwest corner of the Pacific Ocean in a continent called Asia. It's an island country. But a lot of people think Japan is surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, but it's not necessarily so. What I'd love for you to do is, after you listen to the story, I'd like for you to grab a map. If you don't have an atlas at home, that's fine. Just go to the internet and ask for the internet to show you Japan. Then take a look around. Look at the bodies of waters around Japan. Say those words out loud. Look at the countries nearby. You don't have to memorize anything. All you need to do is look at the map, say the words, and little by little, you will know more geography than you care to think about. Once, long, long ago, in Japan, the land of the rising sun, in one of its many seaside villages, there once lived Yamada-san, an elder. He lived way up on top of a hill in a beautiful and yet small house, surrounded by his prized possession, his rice terraces. Oh, Yamada-san loved his rice, and so did the villagers. Every morning, Yamada-san had a special ritual. He would step outside and enjoy the view of the sea, the village below, and his rice. He always had a cup of tea. He loved where he lived. But one day, Yamada-san noticed that the tide was extremely low, and most of the villagers were playing on the sand. They were harvesting fish trapped in the many pools left by the low tide. There were children flying kites, and that's when he saw, from his vantage point, he could see the tsunami approaching. Of course, there would be a tsunami. His great-grandfather had told him many stories about the great wave, but the villagers had never lived through such a thing. And his heart sank. He waved and waved and waved and waved, but he was so high up on the hill, people could not see him. People could barely see his house, let alone Yamada-san. So Yamada-san ran into his house and came back with a large sheet, and he waved and waved that sheet like a flag, and yet people could not see him, could not see the signal, and the wave kept getting larger and larger and larger, and people were still harvesting the fish from the many pools and flying their kites. So Yamada-san entered his home and came back with a lantern. It was lit. And he looked at his rice. The rice was ripe, ready for harvest. And he set it ablaze. The fire was hot and wide and tall, and the people saw the flames, and they ran up to help Yamada-san put out the fire. But when they got there, it was too hot, and they couldn't do anything. And when they looked at Yamada-san's face, they saw smile and tears, laughter and sadness, all at once, as Yamada-san was pointing towards the sea. And when the people turned, they saw the great wave crashing and destroying the entire village. And they kept creeping up the hillside, but was never able to reach Yamada-san's house. The village was lost, but nobody died. Yamada-san had saved his community. Well, there you have it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you stay tuned for the next episode of the Treehouse Storytelling Show. Until then, be safe and stay healthy. Thank you.